Welcome to Salon Talks. I'm D. Watkins. Today, I'll be joined by Brian Baumgartner. You may know him as Kevin from everyone's favorite television show, The Office. He's also the host of Off the Beat podcast. We learned of his cooking skills through Seriously Good Chili Cookbook, and today he's here to talk about the highly anticipated follow-up, Seriously Good Barbecue. Has over 100 recipes. That's pretty serious business, man.
That's serious. Like, I'm serious. Everyone knows I'm serious.
You're not fucking around.
I'm not fucking around. That's right.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
For Office fans that have not been following your passion for cooking, can you bring us into that side of you that wanted to start to put these cookbooks out?
Yeah, well, you know, there was an, let's just call it an incident that happened during The Office where there might have been some chili that got spilled.
Kevin's chili.
Yeah, that's right. So that was the first cookbook. I put that together. I'd met a lot of people in the chili world, but this one is much more personal for me. Barbecue. I'm from the South. I'm from Georgia originally, and so I've been doing it, been around it my whole life, and it's something I really am passionate about. And you know, I'm on the road a lot, just like you, it sounds like, but when I'm home, I'm at the grill 4 or 5 nights a week cooking something.
So did the chili, the research and you going into the chili world, was that before that episode?
No.
Or when people like reaching out to you like
that
crazy?
That was after. I don't think I'd ever made chili before, but barbecue and grilling outside, that's something that I started when I was a kid.
So that's like the first thing I learned from just reading about you and getting into the book, is that grilling and barbecuing are not the same things. I don't know if it's because I'm an East Coast guy, if that's a Southern thing, or...
Well, so technically barbecue means slow cooked. So like smoking it, putting it on indirect heat, whereas grilling is like fire, hot, you know, like cooking steaks or whatever, over a direct heat. That's the difference. For me, there's recipes of both kinds, really. For me, the word barbecue really is about that communal outdoor cooking together with family and friends, and getting tips from different family members or friends or chefs. So that's kind of what I tried to do with this book, offer a bunch of tips, 1, and 2, recipes that people can try and get outside their comfort zone a little bit, but we do it in a way where everybody should feel comfortable.
You know, it's funny because I never hear the function called a barbecue until like I grew up and started having like some white friends. Like we always call it a cookout. So if you're talking to white people, it's like, we're going to a barbecue. You're talking to black people, it's like, yo, she can come to the cookout. He can't come to the cookout because, you know, he talks too much.
Well, listen, I think we can just have an alternative book then, which is just Seriously Good Cookout Cookbook. Because that's kind of much more what this is about for me.
Yeah, all barbecue was not created equally. You went to different regions, you went to different places. You locked in with Rodney Scott. He was on the show. Can you talk about some of your favorite barbecue styles?
You know, I feel like when I was growing up, Georgia, there's nothing necessarily distinctly Georgia. I feel like that we're sort of an amalgamation of some Memphis and Texas and Kansas City. Carolina is right next door. But, you know, I feel like when I was a kid, it was about the sauce. Like it was, put the meat, and it doesn't matter, let's put a really good sauce on. I think like also chain restaurants now, it's about the sauce. And one of the things I talk about here is if you get really good meat, whatever the cut is, whatever you're making, it makes such a difference in the flavor. And you know, so talk a lot about using rubs as opposed to sauce, and for people to not just drown the meat and the stuff that you're cooking in a sauce, but really buy something high quality and cook it well, and it'll be delicious.
Do you have a favorite like type of meat to cook?
You know,
or a favorite style?
Not really. I wouldn't say. I do a lot of tri-tip actually, because I like that communal thing. So there's a place a shop really near my home that I can get amazing tri-tip, and that I can cook it. We can all be there together, and then I can slice it up, and everybody can have a little bit. Sort of like the anti-steak, right? You have a steak, you eat that steak yourself. This is much more, let's make a bunch of sides. So I would say that ribs kind of come into the same category. Ribs take a lot longer to cook. You know, you're looking at 5-6 hours. That's a commitment. But again,
it's a real commitment.
Yeah, but if you're having a cookout, like you said, everybody's over. Like you're chatting, you're talking, maybe having a beverage or two while it's cooking, and it becomes a whole day thing. So
then you celebrate it. They're like, the ribs are ready.
the ribs are
and
ready.
you get to come, you know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And everybody picks up one or two and has some, and then you can have some more later. And I like that's how I grew up.
But then you talk about the slow process of it all, right? So I was always, I was thinking, what kind of things did you learn about yourself, or do you learn about yourself while you are barbecuing, or while you are spending this time, and then you put the book together? What things did you discover?
So for me, I do a lot of work. I work a lot of different projects. You know, for me, it is when I am cooking, my mind is just focused on that. I might have a game on in the background, be watching something on my phone, but it's work goes away, complications of life go away, and I'm just focusing on this task. So for me, it's almost, I don't know, it sounds weird, but like meditative in a way. Like it just everything else clears and goes away, and I'm just trying to make some good food as best I can.
Let's get into some office business. So I'm a big fan. I'm sure you have fans. I'm sure people probably tackle you in the airport and all that shit. But I feel like the show was special because so many Americans could just relate to showing up every day, right?
Right.
And now everyone works from home. So I was wondering, do you think the show is a relic of that time period, or could it exist today?
Wow, I think that's a really good question. I'll answer that in two ways. One is that there are still large groups of people that assemble together, and in some ways it's become the fans of the show that we never anticipated. And I'll explain what I mean. You know, when we were doing the show, it was like 200 million people work in an office. So if we can just get a fraction of those people who can relate to the characters and the work environment, then we'll have a show. But what we didn't anticipate, which I now know is true, is that the school environment is very similar to the office. You know, we have an unreasonable boss that makes his employees do unreasonable things. We're stuck together next to people we don't choose to be next to year after year. It's just like school. You have an unreasonable teacher who's making you do dumb things while you're sitting next to people that you don't choose to sit next to.
Absolutely.
And the kids, and I say that like I'm not ancient, but like junior high, high school, obviously college kids relate to the show. And I think that's the audience that has made the show sort of continue to sort of feed on itself and still be talked about today. I think you bring up a really good point about people now being so isolated. But see, I think that's another reason that people still talk about the show, still watch the show. There's almost some nostalgia there of being together, and ultimately people who, they may say mean things every once in a while, specifically Michael Scott or whatever, but ultimately the message is love and celebrating ordinary people who are doing ordinary things. And I still think that resonates, even if people aren't necessarily in an office every day.
And then just the ability to poke fun at a person who's not self-aware.
Right.
It's
Yes.
golden, and I think that's going to relate to any era, because even if you have to work from home, you have like a boss who's maybe saying some stupid shit on a Zoom call.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm
Totally. Yeah.
The last episode aired in 2013.
Crazy.
Can you speak to the impact streaming had on the show?
I mean, we rode this wave of technology. So you bring up streaming, and it got there. But even like one of the reasons that the show stayed on the air, because it wasn't initially getting a ton of audience, was, remember the iPod and the video iPod? They put us on there, and suddenly they looked at the numbers and they were like, wait, more people are watching The Office than any other show. Like, who's watching this? And again, this is like the younger people at the time. And then, so we hit that, and then we hit the streaming, and people could watch it. And what someone said later, it was a show that was built for streaming, not on purpose. Because there's a lot of sections of that show where there's 3-4 episodes of like a story. Like Idris Elba comes in and does The Boss, and he's there 3 or 4 episodes, and then he goes away. So people can consume it. You think it's 20, 30 minutes. I'm gonna watch this tonight. I'm gonna watch 3 or 4 episodes. And you watch this little story that's kind of self-contained, and then the next day you can pick up with something else. So it's kind of built for that, like, you know, oh, I'll just watch one more, I'll just watch one more, I'll just watch one more. Okay, I'll come back the next day. And then there's another story that pulls it forward. So yeah, I think it was built for streaming, and obviously during, I don't know if you heard, there was a pandemic that happened here.
Yeah,
I don't know if you heard about that.
I was around.
Yeah.
I was around.
People being stuck at home and streaming, and it was big on streaming, and people were talking about it. That obviously is a huge reason we're still talking about it.
And obviously, you know, you're in that conversation. People, when they talk about the best television shows of all time, I was wondering, what is your top 3?
Wow, that's a great question. I'll exclude The Office, right?
Okay.
No, I'll just, because that has to be one.
You could be kind of biased.
That could be kind of biased, so I'll take myself out of that. I'm a big Sopranos guy. Yeah. I'm watching The Sopranos right now again. The Wire, I think that's an incredible show. Breaking Bad, an incredible show.
These are great shows, but they're different from The Office.
Very different from The Office. I think The Office does something I feel like it is unique in a way, because I think it does at times tackle serious issues in a different way than most sort of traditional half-hour comedies do. And that's one thing I'm real proud about.
You know, some people assume that you just rolled into Hollywood one day and the role of Kevin was just sitting there waiting for you. And I think it's dangerous, because so many chase overnight success instead of doing the work. You paid your dues in theaters and commercials. Were there early gigs and work that you're really proud of?
Wow, that's a great question. I mean, I was a theater actor. I thought that was the only thing I was ever going to do. I loved it. I love live performance, and but you know, it's a lot. I mean, 8 shows a week, doing 8 shows a week. You know, I was traveling city to city, very difficult on family, on relationships. So that was what I thought I was going to do. So I would say that probably my proudest moments prior to The Office were performances that, you know, maybe a couple thousand people saw.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a good number.
Shit.
Some like, you know, I've been to shit where like 3 people showed up.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about a couple thousand over like 3 months or something.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay. Yeah, so that for me it was theater. Yeah.
What gave you the courage to move to LA?
I met someone here in New York. I was working regionally, and I met someone in New York, someone I admired very much, who I happened to hear backstage talking about her calendar. And like, well, I could do this, I'm talking about theater. I could do this show, and I could do this one, but I'd really rather do that one, but I gotta pay rent. And I was like, oh my God, she is, and this is someone who was performing on Broadway, and I was like, oh, she's still doing that. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I decided to go out there and give it a try, and yeah, my whole life changed.
A lot of times when you look at shows from like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever, right? Like when I was a little kid, Different Strokes was the shit. And then
Right,
when I'm
yeah.
older, they're like, yo, Mr. Drummond's just riding around in a fucking limo and picking up black kids off the basketball court. Like, what the fuck, what's happening, right? So Kevin stood the test of time. Why do you think he's so memorable?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I think, well, I can tell you from my personal experience, for whatever reason, he hit a nerve in people, and people want to hang out with him and have a drink with him, because they come up to me when I'm out and they want to have a drink with me.
You haven't paid for a drink in a long time.
Well, I have, but probably by choice. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think he was lovable. I think he was just a normal, everyday guy and embraced that. And I think that people who watched saw that and had a connection to that. And so they have a connection to me. And it's the greatest gift the show gave me, is the connection that I'm able to have with people and them coming up and talking about Kevin, talking about the show, how the show gives them comfort and makes them feel better. So it's a gift from me.
Your mark on culture is legendary, but I do want to know, I want to ask, if I can have permission to ask you a deeply personal question.
Okay.
Are you good with this?
I'm good with it.
Okay, you're not going to get up and just walk off, right?
No, probably not.
So, you are at the center of the Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef.
Okay, all right.
You started in first person shooter video, right? You were the first person we seen in that video. That's when the Big 3 line came out. So my question for you is, you know that you were part of fracturing hip hop in half. What are you going to do to repair it?
Man, look, I need Kendrick to give me a call. We'll do a sit down. I'll take care of everything. Yeah, I did not know, obviously, at that time, what it was going to start. I went back and looked at that video recently, and I saw, like, it popped, like, millions and millions again. I was like, why is everybody, oh, that's why everybody's going back to it and looking at it again. I don't know. It's
Only you can
crazy
fix it.
thing. I guess I'll help in any way I can. If they want me there, I don't think they do, but if they do, yeah, I'll fix it. I apologize to everybody for that. I didn't. It was not known to me.
Acting wise and beyond, beyond rap video, whatever. What's the dream gig for you?
Oh man, that's a great question. Dream gig for me. I think honestly, I would love to do some dark drama.
Yeah.
I'd love to do some dark drama. I more came from like the dramatic side when I was doing theater. So that was I wasn't like a comedy guy. Now people just assume I did stand up growing up and improv and stuff. That really wasn't me. For me, it was about creating characters, and just whatever the tone was whatever the tone was.
You want to make some people cry.
So yeah, I want to rip people's hearts out. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
The people know. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you, man.
for coming
Appreciate
on.
it. Thanks, man.
Thank you so
I
much for
appreciate
coming
it.
on.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Salon Talks. Be sure to subscribe as we feature some of your favorite artists, authors, and more. And while you're here, you might as well watch another video by clicking right here.